Doc Rivers continues to time and time again not get it when it comes to getting. Oh! Let him play!
You bet one bone to win 19. What site do you use where you can actually bet $1?
They let you do 50-cent bets.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah, literally, like he dropped Superman down like the drain, comes out, like, God damn it, Superman. I don't know, honey. I don't know where he got that from.
From Los Angeles, this is Dave in the City.
Part of the DITCOW Sports Network.
Now, here's Dave Medina.
Good evening, sports fans, and a pleasure to have you here for the big football pick show on the DITCOW Football Show. Nice to have you back, everybody. It's really good to see you as we start a new season and try to get some picks in. Really good times having to be had, and we had some football last week for week 0. Not a whole lot to talk about. I will say the panel called it with Vanderbilt. What a huge win for them. I was like, it was even better than I expected. I was like 63 to whatever. I mean, that's a hell of a win. So give it to them. Yeah, but good to have you here, everybody. We have a full panel tonight. We have Kevin and the crew all here in one sitting. So we're going to have a really huge Zooms display tonight. So let's not waste any time. I mean, the season is upon us. College football has started. NFL to start next week. So, let's see how everybody did last week and set yourselves up for some pretty serious games to start week number 1. We're glad to have you back, everybody. If you're new to the program, we do picks from the games against the spread every single week. We do not do picks again with totals for our contest, just so you know. But we do everything else as we begin another season in our continuous annual tradition. Let's hit it! That felt so good. So good to have that music back. All right, football picks, week number 1. So let me give you really briefly how it went last year. The winner last season, our good friend John in Connecticut, wins it at 43-30-1. Phenomenal work, John. Congratulations. And as we segue over to them individually, Andy was in second place at 39-35. Ron was in third at 35-38-1. The guest and I was 34-39-1. And the guest picks were 31-41-2. Hopefully some better results all the way around. But now let's go bring in our panel. Now if you're watching on YouTube, it's going to be a little different tonight because we have a 5th panelist tonight. So I have to move myself over here so I don't block anybody. This is really, really interesting. Hold on, I got to fix something else over here. I'm on the wrong scene. Let's go switch over here. There we go. There I am. So let me just tweak a few things over here, move a few things over there, and we're ready to go. So first, let's go bring in Kevin with a Padre hat. I love this. This is great. But first, let's go bring in let's talk to our friend John in Connecticut, who's the winner of last year. Just a phenomenal job, John. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. How's it going this evening?
Doing well, Dave. Yeah, if I can do that well again, it'll be a good season. So, I've got the target on my back for 2022. But yeah, it was great to actually have some football on Saturday. I don't know how much we're going to dive into the action, but we dipped our feet into the pool, and now we're really going to get going this week. So I'm always happy to be here and talking some games and making some picks with all you guys. So thanks again.
Absolutely. Glad to do it, John, as always. And the tradition continues. I think the first year, I do know in the first year we started doing football picks. It was 2014. So this would be our 8th anniversary of doing football picks at this point. So, wow. It's like, that's a long run. So, let's say hello also, Andy, from where it doesn't look like it's raining over there, Andy. How's it going tonight?
Good. We're inside tonight because there's baseball on, there's gambling to do, and I actually got to make my pick. So I should have texted you earlier. Are we picking 2 or 4 this week?
I think we usually do 2 for the college. We could do 4. I don't know. But let's just say 2. Let's just say 2 right now. Just do the 2 college. That's a good question. If anyone wants to do 4, or if you guys feel like doing 4, we could do 4. I don't. It's up to you guys. But normally it's 2. Ron, welcome in. How you doing tonight?
Hey, Dave. How's it going, buddy?
I'm doing well. I've got to think of 2 picks right now. I forgot to. That's like the one thing I didn't have time to do today, but I will do that. I actually know what I have an idea of what I want. I just don't know what the spreads are yet. But yeah, good to have you with us. And our guest tonight, Kevin, on the Cape, by way of the Berkshires. It's great.
Man.
How you doing, Kev? Welcome back to the show.
Thing on?
Yeah, I think I hear you. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. What's up?
What's up, guys?
Hey.
Hey,
This
man.
is wild. I feel like I'm looking at my past and my future. I have like John and Andy who are like just living it up. I'm assuming you're both single. I don't know, but it seems like you've got like bachelor pads going on. And then Ron, who's like, he has older kids and he can just anywhere he can find to do this, like in the basement. I've seen him in the kitchen,
Everywhere.
like wherever like the girls are not making a whole bunch of noise. It's great. And I don't think I've been you guys. Then obviously my future is Ron. Dave, I've never been a Dave. I've never had. What are those Pac-Man lights in the back behind you?
Yeah, you got it. Pac-Man lights. Yeah, you got it. This is what.
Okay, yeah, I've never had that. And Dave, for you, special. I painted the room San Francisco Giant orange, and I'm wearing my Padre hat just to piss you off.
That is fantastic. Just the ultimate testament to trollery. Well done.
Yeah, you got it. It wasn't easy, this paint job, man. It's Autumn Harvest or something.
Now, you've had that up for a little bit, right? Like, because I remember when we did Godfather 2, you had that orange wall. So
That is true. But I was just saving it for you.
yeah. Well played. It's not helping. Dodgers are like 50 games above 500 right now. But,
Yeah, no.
but I appreciate the gesture. So, folks, yeah, I mean, there was football last weekend, so we actually have a recap segment. So, John, if you want to take it away and give us the skinny on it. First of all, Scott Frost, he is not long for his job. That's for damn sure. What an embarrassing loss to Northwestern. But I'll give it to you for the floor on week 0.
Yeah, that was the headliner of the day. And, we talked about it on our preview show. It's like, oh, yeah, Nebraska, everyone's high on them. They got a new transfer quarterback. They got a new offensive coordinator. They have all this talent. Well, turns out Scott Frost is still there. And, it's, you lose a couple close games through bad luck or turnovers, whatever. But this guy is like 5-21 in one-score games. It's a complete trend. Like, their special teams are horrible, and he just makes bad decisions in close games. And the trend continues with his complete boneheaded decision to go for an onside kick up 28-17 in the fourth quarter, which gave Northwestern all the momentum in the world after that. And, they got gashed in the run game all day by Northwestern. And, just a masterpiece by Fitzgerald, really, and just coached circles around Scott Frost. And I saw an incredible stat that if Scott Frost won his next 50 games, he would still have a worse record than Bo Pelini, or worse winning percentage than Bo Pelini at Nebraska. It's crazy. He might be we're talking about betting their win total over, and this loss could derail their season. I mean, they're going to beat some FCS team this week, but I wouldn't trust him in a close game as long as he's there. And, it's kind of sad after the run he had at Central Florida, but it's looking like that was more of a fluke than anything else, because this guy just can't coach. But that was the kind of headliner game of the day. There's some interesting action elsewhere. I mean, not too much to recap. You mentioned it, Dave. Vanderbilt just blew through Hawaii. I mean, my goodness, that Hawaii team. We're going to be betting against them and Wyoming, who laid a similar egg against Illinois. The Wyoming quarterback's yards per attempt was 1. He was 5 of 20 for 50 yards or something like that. It was absolutely just crazy how bad he was. And their defense got run over by Illinois. They are just a horrific team. So can't wait for that Hawaii and Wyoming game later in the year. Nevada wasn't much better. They only escaped New Mexico State because New Mexico State had 6 turnovers in the first half. They played the wrong quarterback. They put this ginger kid in the second half. They almost won the game. Kind of a bad beat for people who bet New Mexico State at 8.5 or 9 as Nevada kicked a field goal late. This is why I had talked about last week, you got to try to get the best number of these things. I ended up betting that at plus 12 like weeks ago. So I won, but I felt bad for people who got like 8 or 9 or whatever. So that was an interesting game. Charlotte, another just complete egg that was laid on Saturday. The quarterback got hurt early, but they weren't ready to play. So good job by FAU. And my Huskies, they came to play. Unfortunately, the starting quarterback, Robertson, the transfer from Penn State, tore his ACL, which threw a true freshman into action. But you know what? He was going to play this year anyway. So I feel bad for the kid that tore his ACL, obviously. But get the freshman in there, get some game experience, and that'll be good by the end of the year. But their defense played great. They had some their transfers at linebacker and defensive end. They really were stuffing some runs. Jackson Mitchell was just a beast, and their run game was just phenomenal. Nate Carter had like 190 yards rushing. So very, very impressed by Jim Mora's first game, and we called that. So overall, it was a pretty good week. Had a couple bunks with Charlotte. Was a pretty bad loss, but other than that, it was a good Saturday, entertaining Saturday to start us off. So I definitely enjoyed it.
Awesome. Yeah. I guess I'll give you this as far as the Northwestern Nebraska game. It was a rough game, but it was pretty close, and so you had juice at least with it. Andy, let's get to you and get your thoughts on week 0.
Yeah. Well, so first I wanted to, if V-Tread's listening or if he's going to listen later, and it's not just him, the people that are triggered by like the week 0, why is it called week 0 and not week 1? Well, I think the answer is actually pretty simple. It's not even a balk, but week 0 is kind of balk, but it's the most non-balk answer to explain the balk. And there's no voting. There's no reshuffling. The polls didn't change. The coaches didn't vote after last week's game. So maybe that's why it's week 0. If it was week 1, like if we called last week 1, then they would have to vote and there'd be changes in the top 25. Maybe that's the only explanation I could offer, V-Tread. So you're just going to have to deal with week 0 references moving forward, whether you like it or not. But I don't know if there's any credence to that. But John gave a good thumbnail of the week. That was week 0. As someone that has a Nebraska over 7.5 wins ticket, and as someone that had Nebraska minus, I think I had it at 11.5, up 28-17, and Scott Frost decides to go full you-know-what. And then Casey Thompson, who I like, who had a very good first half, got case of the Jim Cardwells, and he couldn't make passes. More troubling than like Scott Frost's decision to kick that onside kick was how bad the Nebraska defense was. Northwestern was just kind of running it up the middle, throwing it whenever they could. They actually got tight on third down. The announcers, or Brock Horde, was actually calling out Northwestern for getting tight. Basically, like Nebraska can't stop a nosebleed. Northwestern, their play calling should be a little more aggressive. Anyway, Scott Frost, if you take away his 13-0 season at Central Florida, every other season he's under 500. And I don't know if they're going to fire him right away. I'm sure he has a crazy buyout. And who are you going to get to come to Nebraska at this point? Maybe the AD takes over. We mentioned last week the AD is a former player who basically forced the Whipple hire. So I don't know. But as John mentioned, and as Mike has mentioned before, you can lose a baseball season in game 2 on April 4th or whatever. That Nebraska loss was just horrendous. Maybe it galvanizes them, but I don't know. Northwestern's not that good. Some of the other thoughts, UConn very pesky. Utah State was playing like they wanted Alabama, and they got UConn, and they needed to focus for 60 minutes to get the job done against UConn. I think eventually Utah State will find their equilibrium. They'll probably get killed this weekend against Alabama, but you guys 3 weeks ago all talked me into UConn plus 24. You could have got it plus 27, but there was steam on the Huskies. So easy cover. North Texas was a good bank. I liked them. And then as John already mentioned, that Illinois and Northwestern are not good teams, and they destroyed. Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt and Illinois are horrible, and what they did respectively to Hawaii and Wyoming. I mean, Wyoming and Hawaii. I'll gamble on that game whenever they play, but that is some lean talent. And week 0 just kind of set the tone for the week ahead, which is week 1, and all systems go.
All systems go, indeed. I mean, and some people really showed their stuff on this early week, but it's a very interesting litmus test type of week, like low pressure for a lot of teams. But as we said, you can really do yourself in if you lose a game that early in the season. Nebraska being down a conference loss already is rough. That is bad. Especially the way they did it. Ron, any thoughts on week 0?
Yeah, when you mentioned that, Dave, and like Andy and John said, I mean, just a terrible loss by Nebraska. And, my initial thought when I was watching the game is I remember that tidbit, and this is great why our show is is great to listen to, because you get tidbits from each one of us. And I remember Andy saying, he heard through the grapevine that the Whipple hire was kind of forced upon Frost, from the higher ups, and there might be some tension there. And even the announcers, like right away, called it. And I think it was at halftime. Chris Peterson said, he was really interested to see what playbook it was going to be. If it was going to be, Scott Frost, his kind of his touches on it with the RPOs and stuff, or it was going to be a mixture of the RPOs and some of Whipple's stuff. And he said he was surprised that it was 100% Whipple's offense. It was the tempo, the short throws, the keeping the pressure on the defense. And, so when they lost, I mean, it took them 1 week. Not only is it a conference loss, it took them 1 week for them to lose, and for Frost to come out in the media and say that, Whipple and the offense need to start calling better plays. So, that's not going to end pretty there. I don't know what his situation is with the buyout, but, he's not long for Nebraska. And, they start the season 2-4, 2-5, and I don't see how they could keep him around. And, I would think, maybe they, put Whipple in for the rest of the year, see what he has. And then they go after a big fish after this season. Someone like Fickle or somebody like that to try to come in. But it's not pretty there. And you guys are 100% right. Northwestern isn't a great team. I mean, they run a really vanilla offense, but, they do it right. And they end up winning a game that they really shouldn't have won. They could have got blown out, and Frost kind of just, shit the bed there, which isn't a surprise. I'll say this, I was watching the Hawaii Vanderbilt game at night, and Hawaii, I think, actually got out to a 10-0 lead. And I was shocked, and I was like, man, maybe I had Hawaii all wrong. And this is going to be a bad beat. And I went to sleep when it was 10-0. I woke up, it was 63-10 the next morning. Holy shit, man, Hawaii really is. It's going to be a long season for Hawaii. They have a high school level roster. So, so that was my week 0 thoughts. My other thought was, I don't know if you guys watched Game Day or not, but they did their Ooga Booga picks and everything. But man, Lee Corso, I love Lee Corso. I love Game Day, but they gotta retire him. I mean, he is and we all know, we all have the grandparent or the old aunt or uncle who tries to use technology and they have no idea what they're doing.
Oh no!
And they had him a remote spot somewhere, and I mean, it was just, God bless the guy, but he they need to limit his stuff to maybe pre-taped appearances or something like that, because it was the first whenever they would go to him, there'd be a 30-second delay, before he actually got what they were saying. it was rough to watch. But
Yeah.
that's just my observances from week 0. But it was fun to see. It was a good start to the season.
All right. Well, thank you for the recap there, Ron. I appreciate you. So let's go get to Kevin. Any potpourri you want to add as far as week 0? I'm not sure. It was only week 0, so I wasn't sure how much you saw. But if you had anything you wanted to add as far as the storylines or the games from last weekend.
There's two things.
You have things.
In your guys' show last week.
Yes.
I've never wanted to gamble so much when Andy. Dave is going on and on and on about something, and about what are we going to do here, and Andy just looks up at his camera and goes, "We're locked in on Vandy." Like the way he said it, I was like, "Oh, dude, this." I'm like, "Where?" I'm like looking. I'm like, I went to my FanDuel. I'm like, "Oh, I can only do horses." I'm like, "This is crap." I'm like, just the way the man said, "We're locked in on Vandy," and it's Vandy, and I'm like, "All right." And then, of course, I looked the next day, and I'm like 63 to whatever. So there's that. I'm mad at the legislature in Massachusetts for dragging their feet, because I would have been a few bones richer. And these guys are the experts. The only thing I think I can offer, because I've been diving in around the coaching world lately, is Scott Frost. Actually, if you can believe this, guys, he agreed to reduce his buyout by half, from $15 million to $7.5. effective October 1st. So he's got at least till the Oklahoma game. And then I don't know. I just think that they're only because he played there, they might just let him, or just, I mean, they played like Michigan and Wisconsin back to back in November, let him just suffer through that. But I feel like once they're officially eliminated from a bowl, he's gone.
Yep.
That's really all. I mean, I can add to these guys. These guys are the experts. So I'll just chime in on that kind of stuff. But yeah, I found it. He took a pay cut of $1 million, and he agreed to reduce his buyout to 7.5 from 15, effective on October 1st.
It's good intel though, Junkie. I mean, I appreciate.
Which is homecoming.
Yeah.
Can't fire him on homecoming.
I can't speak to that, but I mean, look, here's a question: are they going to win a game in between? Yes, because they get North Dakota and Georgia Southern in the next 2. But aside from that, I don't know what they're going to win. Oklahoma, not likely. Indiana, 50-50. Even Rutgers, I'm like, that's not a given. I think Ron would know more than I would, but I don't think that's a given. So we'll see. Well,
the issue with Nebraska is like they never get blown out. They just find ways to lose. So it depends. Like, Doggy 2 days ago was talking about Scott Frost, and it was just like, Nebraska is that type of school. Like Tennessee's that type of school, where like their fans think their fans have different eyes and like what the rest of the country thinks. And he was like, it's not 1972 in Nebraska. It's like, it's not 94. They're not beating Spurrier, and all bingos to that. And it's funny. John mentioned Bo Pelini, or what? Dave mentioned Bo Pelini at the beginning of the podcast. Like, Bo Pelini was a laughing stock in present time when he was coaching. Like, I wonder if you gave the Nebraska fan like truth serum now, like, would you take Bo Pelini back, or like they'd yearn for those days at this point?
I mean, Bo Pelini got them to a couple bowls, I think, at least one. I was at one of them.
I think he won like 8 or 9 games almost every year, if I recall. I mean, he didn't win 6. It's crazy.
Didn't they do the same thing to Solich? He won like 60 games, and then they were like, that's not enough.
They ran him out for winning like 9 games a year, and this clown is losing 1-score games. So that's the thing. The Oklahoma game, I could clearly see them being ahead by like 10 points in the fourth quarter and then just completely blowing it. So it's not like they're going to, get run out of these games. He just can't. They can't produce in close games. Whatever it is, like he just makes the wrong decision. And I will say about week 0, I think it's called week 0 because like you have to get an exemption to play on this week for whatever reason, whether it be you have a road game at Hawaii, you can get an exemption to play on week 0. Or if you like submit a request for like a neutral site game, like they had one of those last year. I think that's why they call it week 0, because it's not like an officially scheduled part of the calendar. That's my best guess as to it, but it's not 100%.
I like it.
Nice.
It's good information. Yeah, thanks, John. All right, so there's really not much else to set up. Let's get right to the picks, and then I think we'll tell you about what the featured games are. There's some pretty good featured games, but first let's get to the picks, and that means we go right back to John in Connecticut, and let's see what you have for this week. 2 picks from the NCAA, John. It's all yours when you're ready.
All right, Dave, let's get right into it. I cannot think of a better way to start off the college football season than fading Mac Brown. So we are going to do that. In pick number 1, we are going to take Appalachian State. It is a pick 'em now against North Carolina. Unfortunately, we missed the best number on this. It was 3.5 last week, but it significantly moved to the pick 'em, but we don't care. We saw North Carolina in action last week against Florida A&M. But mind you, a Florida A&M team that was down about 30 players because of ineligibility issues and other issues. And the score was 35-24 at the end of the third quarter. And Florida A&M's quarterback passed for almost 300 yards. This North Carolina defense is pretty pathetic. Their quarterback played well. The new quarterback, Drake May, he had a really good game. But again, it's Florida A&M. We talked about it last week on the ACC preview. Just not a fan of Mac Brown. There's just so many, penalties and turnovers, and they're just not a well-coached team. Add in the fact that there's just horrific defense. They're playing on the road at App State, who I will give North Carolina credit for actually playing a road game. App State is kind of like the little brother scenario in this. So to get North Carolina in their stadium, it's like almost like their Super Bowl, basically. It's going to be a sold out stadium. The atmosphere is going to be electric, and they have a really good team. I mean, they returned their quarterback from last year, Chase Bryce, their 2 top running backs, and they should be able to run through this Carolina defense. I think North Carolina will be able to score some points too. So I think the over is a good play, but I just think there's too much on this App State side, and both the motivation and the coaching advantages here. So we're going to take App State pick 'em for the first game. And the second game, we kind of mentioned this as well on our previous show. I'm going to take South Florida getting 12 points at home against BYU. BYU obviously they're a pretty good team. They're returning a number of starters this year. But when this very game was played last year in Provo, South Florida was able to put together a cover. In fact, South Florida was 4-0 against the spread last year as a home dog. They covered against Florida, Tulsa, Houston, and Cincinnati all at home as an underdog. They were 2-10 straight up, but they actually were 7-5 against the spread. So they were pretty good in that regard last year. They have Jerry Bohannon coming in as a transfer quarterback from Baylor. He should significantly improve the offense, and they should be able to run the ball on this Baylor team. BYU team who struggled to stop the run last year. I think there'll be a lot of points in this game. I just think it's way too many points. I think the humidity is going to be a factor. It's going to be about like 95 and just completely, probably 100% humidity. It's going to wear these teams down by the end of the game. So that's why I think the over is a good play. But I also think South Florida is going to keep this game close and might even sprinkle a little bit on the money line. I do like this pick. So we'll go South Florida plus 12 in addition to Appalachian State, a pick 'em, are our first 2 picks of the season here in college football.
All right, John, thanks very much for the picks. Yeah, I mean, very good value, I think, on both ends of this. So very good. Good luck, as we always say here. Let us now next go to our friend Andy in Seattle, and we are ready for your 2 picks from week 1.
Yeah, thanks. I'm on board with both of John's picks. In fact, one of mine was going to be South Florida, but I don't want to do a checker on week 1, so I'm pivoting. But the game 1 I was going to pick, I might have had to pivot, but he didn't. So anyway, game 1, I'm taking East Carolina getting 11.5 against NC State. I alluded to this pick last week, and this is just basically a pro Fulton Ayers pick, the quarterback for ECU. Said it last week. He thinks he's got the arm of Matt Stafford, but he's kind of like Tim Tebow / David Green. I don't know if you guys remember David Green, the Georgia quarterback from like the early 2000s, lefty. Last year I think their bowl game got canceled. I don't know. Just East Carolina, they've just been kind of like a sentimental team that I like to watch and bet on. They always seem like when they're 7 to 13 point underdogs, they're always in the mix for like a backdoor cover. So that's just basically my narrative on ECU. I've never been high on NC State. I always feel like every NC State quarterback not named Russell Wilson looks like Scott Glennon, with like, and obviously not like Phil Rivers, but the Scott Glennon prototype, long neck, no mobility, dumb brain, Tom O'Brien, although he's not there, but that's just my stupid brain association with NC State. Never get the job done in the big spot. And I know they might have scorched earth tendencies this year with their bowl game shenanigans last year with the COVID situation and how other schools got a little more leeway, and NC State kind of just got left at the altar and didn't get their bowl game. They got expectation this year. I know their quarterback has NFL potential. But like I said, I like NC State to not cover this game. And I'm on ECU. I'm going to take Holton Ayers any time they're underdogs. That's just how I'm gonna roll with the Pirates. So give me ECU plus 11.5 game 1, and then game number 2. I'm gonna take Bo Nix getting 17 against the Georgia Bulldogs. I think the Oregon coach Lanning is just basically gonna put all his eggs in this basket and try to do the best he can to try to make it respectable and competitive and close against his former school. He was the defensive coordinator there last year. And I just think 17 points is a ton of points. And Bo Nix, you're going to get the whole experience with him. He's going to make some lucky F throws. He's going to make some terrible throws. He's going to make the hard throws look easy. He's going to make the easy throws look impossible. He's going to scramble when he doesn't need to. He's going to scramble when he needs to. I don't really know much else about Oregon this year, but I do know Bo Nix is their quarterback, and you're just going to get just like an orgy of emotions betting on him or against him. So, and with Georgia, I know Stetson Bennett, great story last year, and their defense is basically their forte. So I just feel like their offense, I'm not saying it's a question mark, but for them to be laying 17 with so much uncertainty, week 1, early September, it's a tough ask for them. That's just my stupid opinion. But I'm gonna ride with the Ducks. I'm riding with the Ducks. I'm riding with the Pirates. 2 underdogs as we officially kick off college football season.
All right, thanks very much, Andy. I think these picks could be pretty savvy. We'll see. So let's move ahead to Ron in New Jersey. And Ron, we're ready for your week number 1 picks.
All right, yeah, I would go checker on a checker with John with App State. I love that pick. I think they went outright, but I'll pivot like Andy said. I'm gonna take TCU minus 13.5 against Colorado. I don't think Colorado's named the starting quarterback yet. They lost their starting running back, like all their receivers to the transfer portal. I think Dykes comes into TCU. He's going to have them ready to pour on the offense behind Max Duggan, and I just think Colorado's a really, really bad team, a bad roster. One of the worst Power 5 teams in the country. So I like TCU to go into Colorado and cover minus 13.5. In my second game, I'm going to go Utah minus 2.5 at Florida. I think Utah has I think they have a chip on their shoulder. I think they have a mission, as corny and cliche as that sounds, to make the playoffs after coming so close last year. Florida is going to go through some growing pains with Napier. I think he's a good coach. I think he's the right guy for the team. Their quarterback, Anthony Richardson, is talented. He's probably going to end up really, really good and possibly a high draft pick next year. But he's only thrown I forget what the number is, maybe 100 passes so far in his college career. I just think it's a tough spot for them. Utah is a very experienced, roster, and I think they're going to go into Florida and win that game, and 2.5. I think they'll cover that. So I'm going to take Utah minus 2.5 and TCU minus 13.5.
Ron, I love it. Thank you so very much for the picks. Good luck, of course. And that leads us to my picks. So let's get right to it. Let's not waste any more time. Here's what I've got this week. Let me see if I can throw myself over here. Here we go. Okay, so here's what I've got. All right, so I really like where your all's head's at. This is a lot of great picks here. I really love them. Utah is a good call too, Ron. I mean, it's interesting. I think the only thing I worry about with Utah is will they have the physicality that Florida might present? But on the other hand, Florida also really, they can have all the athletes they want, but they still are trying to figure themselves out. So I feel like Utah's just got a much better head with them in this game. So yeah, I'm totally with you. The chip on the shoulder scenario, it's a good call. It's not one of my picks. I did pivot off of that. So we're going to go with these two picks instead. First, we're going to go checker and a checker with Andy's pick of Oregon plus 17.5 at Georgia. Now, I go in this matchup, I'm thinking, okay, Dan Lanning, he used to be the defensive coordinator at Georgia. I'm like, so he's going to know these guys pretty well. They're not going with JT Daniels because Daniels transferred out. Now they're going to have Stetson Bennett. He had a great moment. Georgia's the defending champion. Great. But that doesn't mean that Stetson Bennett, the fourth or whatever the hell his name is going to end up being that great this year anyway. I think he'll be fine. He'll serve the purpose. Okay? But I just think that the number is too big. I just, before looking at the spread, I'm like, okay, so Georgia's probably going to be a 7.5 point favorite in this game. That makes sense, Defending champs, going against another Power 5 team, a team that almost won the Pac-12. But 17.5, that just seems like a giant number. And not only that, but two other things. Cristobal's not coaching them, so he's not going to suck away the life out of the quarterback. That's already a big win. And two, Anthony Brown, well, interestingly, as you guys were saying, that's a very interesting revelation that he's doing well in the whatever it was, in the combine, what have you. That was really funny. But the point is, between him leaving and the coach leaving, I feel like there's going to be some tangible potential for improvement. So from that standpoint alone, I just think the value is great here. So I'm going to take Oregon, game 1. Game number 2, same idea. I go into this game thinking, all right, Ohio State versus Notre Dame. It's at the Giant Horseshoe. It's going to be a good game. Ohio State's probably going to win by 10 points. And then I look at the line, it's 17.5. Whoa, I don't know about that. I mean, I know how talented Ohio State is, and I'm not saying they can't do it. But that seems like a good value play for Notre Dame. So I've never seen Notre Dame that big an underdog. Guys, have you ever seen them that big of an underdog in any game? Even Bama, I think they were maybe 14. This is kind of a wild number to me. So I'm going to try my luck with this. So go Notre Dame plus 17.5. I don't have a lot of data to support this, but I just got a feeling about it. I feel like this is a much more talented team than people give them credit for. So my picks, Oregon plus 17.5, Notre Dame plus 17.5. 2 top 25 ranked underdogs on the road against some admittedly very good playoff teams from last year. But still, I just feel like there's a lot of potential here for week 1. All right, so now let's go to our guest Kevin on the Cape. Very interesting. You have so much more information on college football these days, and kudos to you, of course, for that.
Not like these guys. Are you kidding me?
Well, that's true. That's true.
Appalachian State, come on. These guys are like next level gamblers here.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
You like literally put, I don't know, like the clown and like the bull ring is me. And I'm just bored with all these guys who are just like, hoo, you know. I don't even know where you guys get lines anymore. Like literally, like when I was 20, I think I like wrote a check to some place in the West Indies in the Caribbean, and I gambled that way. Like, this is so long ago. It was called it's called Intertops. That was the name of it. I don't know if you guys ever heard of it. Like I called, I sent in the mail. I called up, and the lady, you know, with the Caribbean accent, she's like, "Oh yeah, we got your check, Mr. Gorey. Well, it's gonna be deposited." And then I went online and I gambled for like through the college, outside of like your normal bookies. So now I'm like, where do these guys even get the line? I don't even know the point spreads, like if you all get them from the same place or not, but whatever.
I just really quickly, if you want to know, I get mine from Action Network, so action.com or actionnetwork.com, I should say. Actionnetwork.com has like really good odds, so that'd be a good.
All right, well, I won't drag it on too long because I'll just take my 0-2 and donation to the cause.
No worries, no worries. We're ready for you.
But I've been I was actually doing some like research for something I'm going to write pretty soon about coaches. You know, the top 10 against the spread versus the bottom 10. So I sort of went with my picks based on that. Just sort of letting history decide. And I noticed that Jeff Collins, or Georgia Tech buddy, is horrendous against the spread, like 11-23 or something. And I'm like, oh, that's a good one. Let me see who they're playing. And it just so happens they're playing like one of the 5 greatest teams going in Clemson. So my first pick is Clemson over Georgia Tech. I looked at it. It was like 22 points, but maybe John knows it's different now. But I'll take the Tigers and roll with them against the Rambling Wreck. I don't know if that's showing my age too. I don't know if they're even called that anymore.
I think they still are. Yeah.
And number 2 on the flip side, I'm just giving points everywhere. So that's where you come to me. So I looked at the A&M line, which was 30 at hosting Sam Houston. So I'm taking Jimbo and the boys, who I think was like the second or third best against the spread, like 29-19 since he's been at A&M. So I'm giving 50-something points combined, just throwing them all out, which I think is appropriate for like the total rookie novice in the den of these like lion bettors. Andy's probably moving money on his phone right now. I mean, I figure just go totally nuts and give away the world, give away all the points.
Oh my goodness.
That's it.
Thank you for the picks.
If I see any bad weather in the South, I'm going to lose it.
I doubt that'll happen, but I mean, certainly that can be a factor. Weather's always a factor, according to Mike, as we all know. But thank you for the picks, Junkman. I'm going to give you 21.5 against Georgia Tech.
Sweet.
I'm trying to determine what the point spread was for the other game. Give me just a second. But if anybody else has it on hand, let me know.
I did like Utah too, like that you guys were saying.
Utah was I feel like Utah's gonna take it. I'm just, as long as they can manage the line of scrimmage, I think they're good. So well, yeah. All right, I'll circle back. Just wait one more time. What was the team? There's like 50 games on here. I'm just trying to figure out which one it was.
Oh, it's A&M against Sam Houston.
That's a really, really good. Actually, I like that one a lot. A&M is projected to have 10 wins this year, so okay, cool. Okay, that's pretty much it then. I think we'll just get right to the games of the week then. Thank you, Chunky. I appreciate those picks.
Yeah, man.
3 really, really solid games. And if anyone else wants to get to other featured games of the week, we can. But man, phenomenal top 25 picks. Top 25 versus top 25 matchups. We mentioned Oregon versus Georgia. Again, I don't understand why they're this big of an underdog. This is just kind of nuts to me. Yeah, new quarterback, I get it. A lot of unproven talent, sure. But, I still think that's a big point spread. That's going to be at 3:30 Eastern on APC. You got Utah against Florida. We talked about that already. Utah is a 2.5-point favorite. Number 7 is the ranking for Utah. They'll be on at 7 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. And Notre Dame versus Ohio State, 5 versus number 2. And yeah, it is a pretty big point spread. I don't really agree with it, but that's your featured game of the week on ABC. I mean, 2 giant names in college football. The history is obscene between both of them. So that should be an awesome game. I'm pretty sure Fowler and Herbstreit will be doing that one. So let's just get into thoughts on Week 1 action. Those are the biggest games. There are other games to cover as well. So first, we go back to John, and let's get your thoughts on the Week 1 action ahead.
Yeah, good slate. You get those 3 games at night, as you mentioned, or you get the one at 3:30 going right into the 2 7 o'clock games. Kind of get your day started with some of the lesser games, but that's okay. I don't think there's like a big noon game this weekend, but I guess we'll just kind of go in order. Oregon and Georgia. I do agree that I think it's going to be pretty close. Bo Nix, you get bad Bo Nix or good Bo Nix. It depends on which is going to show up. We'll see what kind of difference Lanning makes in terms of a head coach. We haven't seen this guy as a head coach at any point. Did a fantastic job with Georgia as a defensive coordinator. But again, the entire defense is basically in the NFL from last year. Obviously, they replenish. They recruit at an amazing level, so they're going to be good. It's just they're going to be a little bit young. Maybe some growing pains on that front. Stetson Bennett, serviceable. I think that's a good word, Dave, like you said. So I don't think the Georgia offense is going to blow you away. I think their defense is going to be solid, and it just doesn't feel like a kind of a margin kind of victory as you guys talked about. And when Oregon is kind of starting over, and I do think there is something to be said for Lanning, maybe knowing the book a little bit on the Georgia players and who's kind of remaining, and maybe devising a game plan based on that. So I could definitely see that playing into the mix. So I do think the 17.5 is a little bit too much. I think the under is probably a good play too. I can see this being like a 24-17 kind of game, or 24-14, just kind of low scoring, 2 teams just kind of figuring it out. And Georgia eventually will get the win. But that's the kind of game that I could see playing out for this one. As far as the 2 games that are at night, I agree. I like Utah as well. I think, again, Florida's starting over with Billy Napier. He's going to bring in his style of offense from Louisiana. I don't know if Florida really has the pieces to kind of run that offense. Obviously, they're a talented squad. I mean, Florida recruits well in the SEC, but it didn't come together well last year with Mullen, as he left on really bad terms. But we'll see what Napier could do with Richardson. He proved to be a really dynamic player, but I think there's just a lot of question marks on Florida, whereas Utah, we talked about it, very experienced team. Cam Rising took over last year, and just the team just took off after that. Tavian Thomas returning, they're a 1,000-yard rusher, and they're just always so solid, on their offensive, defensive lines and on defense. And they're just so well coached too. So I think, and I think this game being at night helps. Kind of how we talked about the humidity in the USF game. If this was being played at noon, that'd be a huge advantage for Florida. I'm surprised they didn't get a request in to play this game at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock. But that's how it goes. But I think Utah's going to win this one. It's not going to be easy. I think Florida's going to give an effort for sure. But I think at the end of the day, Utah is just too experienced, and I think they'll come out on top here by a touchdown or so. And then in the Ohio State game, I think Ohio State rolls them personally. I just think they're just way too talented, and I don't think Notre Dame can match their offense score for score, because you have C.J. Stroud and Smith Najigba and Marvin Harrison and just all those weapons they have on offense, and Henderson and running back. They can score 50 in their sleep. It's just crazy, their offense they have, and their defense really struggled last year. So what they did is they went out and got Jim Knowles as the old Oklahoma State defensive coordinator last year, and they were a really solid, well-coached defense, and he's going to bring those concepts over Ohio State, and get those guys in better position. So if they have a defense, I mean, watch out. I'm not saying they're going to be like a top 10 defense, but even if they're in the top 50, it's going to be better than it was last year. And, that's going to be bad news for the rest of the country. So again, I don't think, Notre Dame, I do like Marcus Freeman. We talked about this on our previous show. I think he's going to do well at Notre Dame, but I think that it's going to be a struggle in this outing. I don't think they're going to be able to keep up with Ohio State's offense at all. I'm surprised that the over-under in this game is only 58. I was very surprised. I mean, Ohio State could score 50 in this game. I know Notre Dame, they have a good defense on paper, but no one's going to stop this Ohio State offense. So I could see this being 41-20, and, you hit the over, and Ohio State covers, which I think is likely going to happen. So I like the Buckeyes in this matchup. And Notre Dame's been really injured too. I've been reading things that they had a couple of wide receivers go down. They're having some issues on the offensive line. So I think this all points to Ohio State, in my opinion. So I would lay the points with Buckeyes for this game. So those are kind of your three main games, Dave, as you mentioned. But we have some other good matchups. Tomorrow night, you have a couple good ones with Backyard Brawl. West Virginia Pitt will be pretty interesting. First time playing in, I want to say 10 years. I think it's a sold-out stadium at Heinz Field. So that'll be a pretty cool scene. Not really sure what to make of the game in terms of a betting scenario. I would say that, these two teams are such huge rivals that I would lean towards West Virginia with the points, but I don't know if I'm going to play this one. Purdue and Penn State's another good game tomorrow night, Big Ten. This is the game that Fox got from giving Joe Buck to ESPN. This was like the trade-off. They got to have a Thursday night game. So you can thank ESPN for having this game tonight or tomorrow night. I like Purdue as a home dog in this game. It's not a fan of Sean Clifford. Kind of really struggled last year, and I think Purdue has the better quarterback here with Aiden O'Connell, and they're always a very good home team against the spread. I know they do lose some of their they lost David Bell, who was like the Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year, and Karlaftis, their defensive end, who just created tons of pressure every game. But I still like their team, and I think getting points at home over a field goal, it's 3.5 right now. So I like Purdue in this spot against Penn State. So those are kind of your marquee games tomorrow night. Not much going on Friday, but we'll bet the games for sure. But it's a kind of a light schedule on Friday, and then Saturday you have some other interesting matchups. I think Cincinnati and Arkansas is a really interesting game. See if Cincinnati can what they look like after losing Desmond Ridder and Sauce Gardner and Kobe Bryant and all those guys on defense that really propelled them to the college football playoff. And we'll see if the replacements can do as well up against Arkansas. We already talked about some of the other games that I had picks on. And then the other game I'll mention, I know me and Andy are going to be watching this one. Houston at Texas San Antonio, maybe one of my favorite games of the day. The two mid-major teams or group of five teams, I guess we should say for college football that are, maybe the tops of their conference and really should be playing Power 5 teams this weekend. But alas, they have to play each other. Should be a really good game. Don't know who I want to take here for the spread. I do think a lot of points are going to be scored. I know UTSA struggled on defense last year, and I think Houston has the weapons to take advantage of that. But I think UTSA has a pretty good home field advantage, and their offense is going to be pretty dynamic too with Frank Harris returning and his top three wide receivers. So I think there's going to be some points scored in this game. Just kind of talking it out, I would maybe lean towards the home dog again with UTSA, but that's to be decided. So, lots of good action this weekend. There's a lot of FCS versus FBS games too, so we'll keep an eye on those for future weeks, and maybe we'll even throw a bet on them. I know I only see lines on the Thursday FCS versus FBS games, so we'll have to see what it's looking like for Saturday. I know, sadly enough, me and Andy might be looking at the Maine New Mexico matchup for a potential wager, which is really sad, but hey, money is money. You got to do what you got to do here. So should be an interesting week of games.
What side would you have in that game? If you don't mind me asking.
Oh God, New Mexico is on par with Hawaii and
so I was thinking,
Wyoming and Nevada. Those four teams, you're just going to fade them all year.
Yeah.
Don't matter who they're playing unless they're playing each other.
No, good call. Because, New Mexico's garbage. It's crazy. All right, Andy, let's get your thoughts on week one.
Yeah, well, I have a quick question for John. I was just looking at lines and stuff, and Action app always has like the line that opened. So, John, did you listen to Stookie over the weekend and hammer hammer Tulsa before it went up against
Wyoming, right?
Yeah. Did you get it at 1.5?
Yeah, no, I was really stupid. I did not do it because now I don't want to bet it now at 7 because I'm not a fan of Tulsa either. But I would have betted it at a pick because I could see this game being like 13-10. That's going to be an ugly game too. But I wouldn't bet it at 7. One game I did take though that already moved. I took Texas State against Nevada, and it was like plus 4.5. So I got it at that. But now it's like a pick 'em. I wouldn't take it at a pick 'em. But plus 4.5, I'm in on Texas State. That Nevada team is terrible. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, alas.
Yeah, I think I missed the boat. I'd probably still take Tulsa in like a money line or something. But yeah,
or like
right.
or a teaser though. Like if you do a teasers for college football, I wouldn't recommend it, but that's like a good teaser play for college football.
Yeah, crazy times. Yeah, Dave, for the marquee games you listed, obviously I just because of the margin, Florida, Utah is like the must watch of the trio. I tend to lean with Ron's assessment, even though I'm not a huge Whittingham like rah guy. I don't love Whittingham. I respect what he's done for the most part. That Northwestern bowl game will always bother me, but Cam Rising makes that team a lot more fun to watch. That powder last year that quit on the team, Brewer, I think it was Brewer. He lacked whatever Rising possesses, and the team just kind of rallied around him, and he's prolific. He can make plays when everything seems to break down. And this, like, Utah is as now the team as they've ever really been, like their preseason rank, which usually doesn't always carry a ton of weight. Obviously, it's preseason, but for a school like Utah to get that preseason rank, they need to kind of take advantage of it. Like a team like Penn State or Ohio State or Michigan State, like, year after year, their preseason rank is almost immaterial. But an outlier school like Utah that doesn't have the same cachet as those other schools, they need to kind of make the most of this preseason rank. And as this whole program is fans of Napier coming from Louisiana to Florida, to borrow Mike Lombardi's saying, Florida might be a year away from being a year away. And I don't think a school like Utah will get like intimidated by the Swamp. The Swamp will probably be sold out and rocking and rolling, but a Whittingham coach school trait is like they don't really get like too intimidated by like a rough away environment. And like if Utah loses, it's not going to be because they got intimidated by the Swamp. It's just they didn't perform like they were supposed to. Like they're favored, they should come out of that game with the W. And so yeah, like that's a great game for week 1. Kind of already touched upon the Oregon Georgia game. It's not like we love Bo Nix and we're not really a great fan of the Oregon program, but yeah, it's a lot of points for a school like Georgia to be laying. Oregon, that's a ton of points. It's a ton of points. Now, having said that, like Ohio State, Notre Dame is a ton of points too, but like Ohio State's offense is on the moon to Georgia. Like Georgia, if they're going to score a lot of points, those drives are going to be a little more methodic, 9-play, 10-play, 14-play drives. Ohio State, they can score like in 2 plays. They can score in 1 play. They can return a kickoff. They can block a punt. They can score in all sorts of ways quickly and seamlessly. And that's why I think Notre Dame could be in a lot of trouble. If Notre Dame, like, if they can't sustain anything on offense, if they go like 3 and out 2 times in a row, they give Ohio State short fields, like it could be a rough night for them. Now, granted, last week I said Notre Dame going to be in the playoff, and I think they still could, because this game means nothing to Notre Dame. Like, I mean, no fun. Of course it means something, but if they lose, like, their playoff picture are not blown out the window, as we know. Like you say it, our friend ACQ is going to find a way for them to get to the playoff at 7-5. But in all seriousness, like they control their own destiny just the way their schedule is built, because they've got USC and Clemson in November. So if they get absolutely annihilated in 3 days from now, they're still going to beat up on like their other schools on their schedule. It's a lot of cream puffs. And then, then it gets serious again with the Clemson game and USC. I think Notre Dame, they'll probably they'll gel. If they get killed, they'll learn from it and they'll get better. They'll get better as the season goes along. But week 1, I think Ohio State is just a complete buzzsaw for them. And it's going to be tough sledding for the Irish. So I'm obviously going to take Oregon, and I'm going to take Ohio State, and I'll probably take Utah. Some of those other games that John mentioned. First world problem, I spent way too much time debating it, because I got invited to play golf Saturday at a really nice golf course out in the mountains, not to sound like Mike or whatever, but I was like, damn, it's week 1, I really just want to spend 15 hours on my couch. And then the other guy in my brain was like, you got a lot of other fall weekends to do that. It's really the last true summer weekend. So I'm gonna golf, but I'll follow the games on my phone. And I'll be able to watch the late night games. But anyway, the Saturday, the degenerate type of games, John already mentioned them, but you know what, they remind me of the bowl games on December 28th, or even the non-big New Year's Day game, the Outback Bowl or Citrus Bowl. Cincy, Arkansas is a good game. Both of those schools aren't going to win the national championship, but they have aspirations to do well. I would probably take the underdog in that game. And then same thing. Yeah. What John said about Houston, UTSA, bingo. I love both, not to sound like a my babies guy, but I hate that one of those schools has to lose and one of those schools isn't going to cover. But I'm going to take UTSA in that game just because they're the underdog. It's just I like both those teams. I'm going to take the team getting the points. And then the other game that I wrote down that might be interesting is because they played each other last year, and you never know what's going to happen, is Memphis, Mississippi State. That game could be 10-7. That game could be 45-42.
You're right.
Just don't really know.
There's no way to know. I'm
guessing it'll probably lean offensive 45-42, but you just don't know. You don't really know with a Mike Leach team, even though you should. But yeah, and Mississippi State's a big favorite, but I don't know.
I would never lay that. There's no way I'd lay that.
It's an entertaining game.
Yeah.
Entertaining game.
Okay.
And then yeah, I agree with John with the backyard brawl. I'm gonna take West Virginia. I think they're either I saw 6.5. Tomorrow could be different, but such a close, bitter rival. I'm gonna take the underdog, as cliche as that sounds too. And then John talked me. I had no feel 10 minutes ago, but John talked me into Purdue. And I'm I hate James Franklin, and I don't. Clifford just reminds me of a Hackenberg type, not that good, just a classic Penn State quarterback. Just not my cup of tea. I'll probably take Louisiana Tech getting 20 points from Missouri. The Friday games, I'll probably take Indiana, Illinois coming. Still partying after that big Wyoming win. But I think Indiana's better than Illinois. And I'll probably take Old Dominion against Virginia Tech. And I also agree with Ron. I love that TCU selection. And then I know, Dave, no one's mentioned it yet, but that Sunday game, LSU, Florida State in the Superdome, I'll probably take Florida State as the underdog.
I feel like Florida State's going to have a little bounce back this year. I think it's a good call, too. Yeah, I'm with it. I love the rundown, Randy. Really good stuff. A lot of intel, folks. If you guys are looking for gambling advice, Andy brought it and then some, folks. So thanks for your rundown. Let's go over to Ron and let's get your thoughts on week 1.
Yeah, I agree with both Andy and John about the Notre Dame Ohio State game. I mean, just when you look at it on paper, I mean, you have an Ohio State team that is returning, a Heisman runner-up at quarterback, a million future NFL draft picks, and they're going up against and like John said, I mean, we all like Marcus Freeman, and we hope Notre Dame does right by him moving forward. But Notre Dame is starting a sophomore quarterback who I don't believe started a game yet this year. They have they're down to like their third string receivers. I think it could get ugly fast, and that's just par for the course. And like Andy said, Notre Dame's still going to beat up on other teams throughout the year, and they're probably going to still end up in a New Year's Six bowl and hanging and sniffing the playoffs. But we're going to love it on Saturday night, reading Twitter and seeing, stuff from Tommy and other Notre Dame people saying how awful Freeman is and how bad Notre Dame is. And, just because they're losing to Ohio State. But, it's not an easy task. And Ohio State is like otherworldly. So, I love Ohio State in that game. I mentioned the Utah pick, Oregon and Georgia. I just don't know what type of coach Dan Lanning is. And I agree with you guys on Stetson Bennett. I mean, he's, basically got the job by default last year once JT Daniels got hurt. And, they were just, they remind me of the Eli Manning Giant teams last year. The defense was winning every single game, and Stetson Bennett was doing just enough not to lose. He didn't really need to do anything, to be honest with you. So I don't know if them losing all that talent on their defense last year is going to put a little more pressure on him. And if that's the case, maybe Georgia takes a little bit of a step back. But I have so many unknowns, so I'd be, reluctant to take a pick in that game. But I think I would lean Georgia, but I have no, solid grounds on that one.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll go against,
all right,
the consensus. But I have no, I wouldn't bet that. But, I agree too with everybody. I love Purdue tomorrow night. And I've seen, mentioning game day again, I saw Herb Street saying that Penn State was his surprise team of the year. But then again, he picked Nebraska to go to the Big Ten conference game, title game. So, I just don't see it with Penn State. I don't see it. To me, it's like Franklin's got one foot out the door there. He's going through the motions. And Purdue wasn't bad last year, and O'Connell was really good. So, why they're a dog at home, I don't know, but I like Purdue tomorrow night. I like West Virginia to cover tomorrow night. That should be an interesting game. So I think that covers most of it. Curious to see what Andy is going to pick in the Kent State-Washington game, because I kind of like Kent State to cover that 23.5. Was curious to see what his thoughts were on that one.
I'm with you, Ron. Yeah, and although my head says Kent State over the 4 quarters might get worn out, and this isn't like the Jimmy Lake Husky team that we hated, and I don't know, their fan base is just they're almost, every fan base is mouth breathers, but they're just they've just built in their we're gonna have our cake and eat too. So if they win and they have a good year, it's we knew we were gonna have a good season. Penix is awesome. He's reunited with DeBoer. DeBoer brings all his coaching staff with him from Fresno State. Yeah, we're blue blood. And if they struggle, then it's like, oh, Damon Horde's son should have gotten the job. The Fresno State coaching staff can't get used to their players. It drives you nuts. But I'm going to take Kent State. I'm going to take Kent State and just roll the dice with the undersized MAC school getting a boatload of points.
Yeah. Kent State's not a bad team. They're not awful, and 23.5 is a lot for a Washington team that couldn't score last year. That was my initial thought. I kind of like that one jumped out at me, and I didn't know if you were leaning Washington, I might have had to change my pick.
No, I'm only leaning Washington like when they play Stanford and maybe like Arizona.
Can I jump in? I'm going to add, I like the over actually in that game because Washington's coaching could not have been any worse last year. Their offense could not have been any worse. And when you have better coaching, Penix is a good athlete, and we saw that when he played a couple of years ago when he was healthy. Kent State's defense is absolutely just hideous. Like, Washington should be able to do whatever they want. And Kent State plays so fast. They're going to be able to score. I like their coach, Lewis. He does a good job there. I know they have to replace their quarterback, but they should be able to put up, I think, at least 20 points. So I think that goes over the total. I think that's I agree. I would go with the Golden Flashes to cover. I think that's 42-21. So I think Kent State covers, and I like the over in that game personally. That one jumped out to me. So I think people are underestimating, how bad Lake was and what DeBoer and Penix can do together. So I like that over.
You know what, John, and you guys, this, you could save this for when we all have 0 lives or whatever, but you could do a deep dive and start at the Big 12 or start at the MAC and how these games get so high scoring, and is it it's a combination of good offense, but how bad the defenses are. So these bad defenses are so bad, the offensive just score so quick. Meanwhile, the defenses are so bad and they can't even get any sort of water break anytime they catch their breath because they're constantly on the field. I feel that's how some of these MAC games just get so topsy-turvy because no one can stop anybody and they're just completely gassed by the second half.
Do you think the style of play, the fact that they are so quick to the snap, they don't run out the play clock before each snap, is a part of that? Not even specifically with the MAC. I feel that
was the problem for Tennessee or for Josh Heupel, and even when he was at UCF, because they would go so fast. If you go 3 and out, your defense is right back out there on the field. Even if you score in 3 plays, your defense is right back out on the field. So that plays a huge role in both their defense wearing down and also contributes to the high scoring in their games. The perfect example was that Purdue bowl game where literally they were just going up and down the field in 5 or less plays towards the end of the game. So I would say Tennessee first half tomorrow night. I know we don't want Tennessee to be back again, but if they can't beat Ball State by 21 in the first half, they should just fold their program.
I love that pick.
Yeah,
I love Tennessee. I hate to say it, but I love Tennessee tomorrow night too. I got at 31.5. It's up to 35 now, but
I think the first half, I could see him they're quitting in the fourth quarter. So I think it's gonna be 38-0 at halftime or something.
Yeah, they might take Hooker out at some point and save him, but I hate betting Tennessee, but that game is too easy.
But so last year I just looked, confirmed. Last year was Bowling Green week 1, and we all love the Tennessee team total, and they just came up a little too stale in the first half of the first quarter to make it happen.
Yep. You know what? The Bowling Green ended up being one of the best pass defenses in the country, which is crazy. So that was kind of a foreshadowing of the season. I don't think Ball State's going to provide much resistance.
Well, it's an amazing analysis all the way around on this. And I'm going to tell you something. I just feel Tennessee, I hate to say it, but I just think Tennessee's going to beat I think you actually do have to watch for Tennessee this year. I think they might actually be pretty good. We'll see.
The quarterback's really good. Herndon Hooker is real. He's the real deal.
They got screwed last year in that in the bowl game at the end.
Oh my gosh!
You know, they're going to be. I have a feeling they're going to come out strong this year. But in the SEC, I mean, you know, if you're not Alabama or Georgia, it's tough to make.
They're in the right division, though. That's for sure. I mean, the West is just brutal. At least they get to play like, you know, Vanderbilt, Missouri, like Florida's rebuilding. I mean, I don't think Kentucky's as good as advertised. They could easily be second in the division for sure.
Yeah, agreed.
Agree with you. All right. So, any other things you wanted to add as far as week 1, Kevin?
You guys, I mean, the notes I've got. I mean, I wish I just had. So one thing, the same feeling from Andy and his Vandy last year, John just gave me with the Kent State Washington over. So anyone who's listening out there, you can see these little locks in these guys, and that's the one that I would take. Just like hearing Andy last week. I'm just literally so excited. It feels like I have like an arm back or something, or I lost a leg like 10 years ago, and now I'm getting it back, like getting back into college sports again. And, you know, talking to you guys, I was just out of it for so long, and it almost feels like I'm getting something back recently. I know it sounds silly, but for me, it's big. I've got like behind me, I've got like 2 screens. So I like the Mets. I'll be with you guys at night. Like with the little kids, it's impossible, as Ron knows, during the day. But like 7 o'clock tomorrow night, I'll be with you in the backyard brawl. I think, like John said, first time since 2011.
Nice.
I got to cover that when I was at NBC. So like thinking back to those times, just like my favorite part, noting that was like how kind of like a, you know, a shitty kind of city like Pittsburgh, like looks down on Morgantown because it's just a bunch of hayseeds and people just it's so funny. And I got to go to Morgantown for that, and then Notre Dame, just my last like turn back the clock. I had the worst, you call it the worst job for that year at NBC. I had to edit and try to make the Charlie Weiss press conferences sound interesting. And I don't know if you guys remember it back then, but he literally, like the pregame stuff. So like the stuff when they had the media availability on like Thursdays and Fridays, he would just take a printout like that you would get online from the other team, and he would be like, well, the Navy fullback, he's got 33 rushing attempts for 93 yards, and he would have nothing to add. It was the worst thing I've ever heard. I really wanted to kill myself. And thankfully he's not around anymore. Yeah. But yeah, other than that, I think all of the fun 7:30 games, I have a feeling that I might be texting Andy for some get me in the action on the Hilltoppers at Hawaii late Saturday night. Huge Hilltopper guy, Tyson Helton, you know, FSU, LSU. I'm just like a kid at Christmas again all of a sudden. And your guys' analysis is amazing. So I'm looking forward to watching that every week as well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Our friends bring it in, and thank you for being part of this, Junkie. It's really good to have you back on the show. It's been a bit. So let's bring it to everybody for final thoughts. John, I got to say again before I do this, yeah, I really think that call of the over in the Washington game is a fantastic idea because, you know, MAC teams in general are just bad defenses, right? You put them against a Power 5 team, even one like Washington, as you mentioned, you know, I think people are they're probably not completely caught up on the idea that there's a coaching change. I think things will be a little different. I think it's a very good idea. It's a very good idea. We'll see if it works out. I mean, it's not a guarantee, but
what's happening now though is Dave is now reversing everything.
I know. That's always a fear. I was just telling my other friends today, like, you know, people like I'm notorious for bad predictions in sports.
You didn't say anything last week when Andy talked about Vandy, so I was like, that's it. you not saying anything made it more of a lock than Andy's look on his face.
Yeah, that's a good point. So maybe now you might want to temper your expectations with that total over there in in Seattle. We'll see. But let's go over to John. Let's get your final thoughts, and then we'll roll around the table.
Yeah, nothing much to add. I mean, really good show. I wish we could do like a little segment on every game that's being played on Saturday, but, you know, alas, we don't have the time for that. But should be a fun weekend, and I hope everyone has best of luck with your bets and whatever else you got going on. And yeah, we got since it's Labor Day, we got Sunday and Monday games too, so it's going to stretch all weekend, which you love to see. So it'll take us right into NFL talk next week, which we haven't done. So it's gonna be good times. So glad to be here for the season, and good to be back with all the guys here. So thanks.
You got it, John. I mirror that. Let's go to Andy and let's get your final thoughts too.
Yeah, I'm echoing Kevin's thoughts. It's this time of year. Sometimes I get a little melancholy because like it's a summer and it went by fast. But I knew going into the summer that I wasn't gonna do much anyway. Like no girlfriend, no big trip. So I was like, I already know I'm not gonna have like a super exciting summer. So I don't even have there's no reason for me to have any melancholy because it's already preemptively like programmed. So now I'm like, bring on the golden hour, the early sunsets, but nice warm days, and we got good baseball postseason start. September pennant races, and fantasy drafts. Like I'm actually don't hate fantasy drafts this year. I usually do, but because it's such a waste of time. But this year, I'm embracing it. John's contest we're looking forward to. This contest we're looking forward to. Enjoy it because it goes by so fast. Like it's weird. I was actually like, I can do like research, not like John and Ron research, but I do research for college. With NFL, I'm still just a Mongo. Like I'm not gonna do any like week one research really. I'm just gonna kind of go with the gut. College, it's just more fun to kind of get into a little more like not quite data per se, but reading all the box scores and reading like the upcoming week schedules, just shit like that. NFL, you're already kind of inundated with it if you play fantasy football. So you're just kind of, your eyes are just kind of numb to all of that. With college football, like you got to be proactive, but you're easily motivated to do that work, if that makes sense. So yeah, like I'm doing the homework, and then guys like Tommy can text 5 days from now and be like, what'd you guys talk about?
Seriously.
Crazy. It's gonna drive me crazy. And I'm like, dude, just listen to the thing. Like I'm not giving you the Cliff Notes version because I'm already gonna forget what I said anyway. So it's on the computer, it's on your phone.
Tell him he can call me, but it's going to cost him. I got the notes.
Exactly.
Yeah, he texts us on Saturday. Oh yeah, who do you guys like today? It's like, well, I mean, were you listening to the show, Tommy? I mean, come on.
That guy. Why am I not surprised?
Exactly. Well, folks, that's really great. Andy, good luck on your 2 fantasy drafts next week, and hopefully we'll see if we can find each other in Seattle. I'll be in Seattle on Thursday, so it would be really fun to
let me know. Thursday's gonna be a freaking bear with work with month end, but I'm gonna try to get out of there because I know the game starts at 5:30. Mm-hmm. So we'll find a place. Let me know where you are on Thursday.
Can do.
You're downtown. Could easily find a sports bar.
Nice. I love it, Andy. So let's swing it over to Ron for final thoughts, and then we'll go to Kevin after that.
Yeah, it's great to be back and doing this again. And I'll echo what Kevin said. I mean, for myself, it's rare that I get to jump on these shows so much or as often as I would like. So I got to take advantage every chance I can get. So I love doing these shows. And where are you going on vacation next week, Dave? Seattle?
Yeah, I'm going to. Well, we're going to be in a few cities. I'll be in San Francisco for a little bit, then Oakland a little bit, and then maybe Pismo Beach a little bit, and then Seattle for like the next weekend. So that's so it's a pretty multifaceted West Coast vacation. Basically, be a lot of cities going on tour.
Nice. Well, I hope you have a good vacation, and I know we'll probably write in the picks next week. So I look forward to hopefully jumping on with everybody the week after that. And we'll have a lot to catch up on.
Absolutely. LT mentions in the chat, by the way, hello, LT. The FanDuels are starting back up, too, once we get kickoff on NFL. So that's exciting. That juices me up, too. And good luck to you on that.
Oh, bingo, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Now, I forgot the scenario with FanDuel. Did they finally get their shit together with that, Andy, or is there still legislation going on?
No, you can. There's one tribal casino in the area where their sports book is FanDuel affiliated, but that's just their straight up bet on team A, bet on team B on their property. That I don't know if you're actually there. You can play in the duels, but you gotta take a ferry to get to this one specific casino. So
okay.
I'm not gonna test it, but because it's a tough ask to do. But no, it drives me crazy. I want to get in these duels just to lose more money, but I know Ron and his brother and you guys are all on it, and it's I want to get involved.
Yeah, it'd be fun to have you there. Let's hope they get their shit together eventually, though. Because
the golf ones sound like a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. I don't know. Yeah, every major they do a golf one. Leo does a great job setting those up. So props to Leo for doing that.
My entire goal in FanDuel, with every single one, golf, baseball, whatever, is just to beat get a better score than Baby. I don't even care.
So it's funny you mentioned that. Mongo Nation actually has it's just like John's Pick'em, but John has NFL too, but I do the NFL one. But yeah, so it's a Mongo Nation Pick'em against the spread, and my only goal last year was to beat Jay Hoff, and I didn't.
Oh God, I can't stand that guy.
I know. He actually did halfway decent. I did terrible, but no, it's a little different because John's contest is you play someone every week. The Mongo Nation one is just your traditional at the end of the year what your record is. So I sucked. I like to spread it out. I didn't like the 5 games I taken or the 7 picks in John's league versus the 7 games in the Mongo Nation. Plus, John, you can take over-unders, and Mongo Nation is just you pick the teams.
I'll give you guys a little tidbit or behind the scenes too with in terms of the FanDuels for the golf ones. When me and Leo get together, we always we'll talk about FanDuel and stuff like that. And with the golf ones, he'll always tell me he wishes he could see what John has in his lineup before it gets set, because he's the king of golf. He's we kind of just throw darts at the board and hope these guys I know he'll take a cock rack just because of the name, just stupid shit like that. But yeah, he'll always tell me man, I wish I could see what John is who he's got, because I have no idea what golfers are good, and I feel the same way.
Yeah, I couldn't even get in the golf duels this year because my state is, even though we have the legal sports betting right now, they had to reapply for DFS or whatever, so I couldn't even get into duels for this year. But I think that's solved now because I was able to do DraftKings lineups the last month or so of the golf season. So I think I'll be in for the duels definitely for football and then for golf next year. But yeah, I was definitely upset about that. I couldn't get in the golf duels, but alas.
I think thanks to that, I think I placed in one of the majors with what I was doing.
So yeah, I hope they had golf for the Live Tour. I would get it. They have a tournament going on this week. I'm chomping at the bit to do something with that, but hey, it is what it is.
John, as long as you're here, how about that comeback by McIlroy last weekend for the Tour Championship?
Oh my God, that was
nuts.
crazy. That was just. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you watched it. I'm sure you watched it, Dave. But earlier in the day, they had to finish 6 holes in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
And it was a one-shot, whatever. It's basically tied. And Scotty Scheffler goes 4 or 5 under in the 5 holes that they played, and no one else really did anything. And so he starts the round with a 6-shot lead, and you're oh, this is just no juice whatsoever. The starting strokes are stupid. This is just really dumb. And then he immediately bogeys 3 of the first 7 holes, and you're all right, we got ourselves a tournament here. And McIlroy just he played well, but I wouldn't say he played amazing. Like, it was really just because Scheffler just really sucked. I mean, he just did not handle that final round very well at all. And down the stretch, McIlroy had that huge putt in 15 to take the lead, and he was able to. He made par when he just like blew his shot over the green on 16. Scheffler makes bogey, and that was the difference. And what would have been really funny though, Sung J M has to be kicking himself because he did not birdie the par 5 18th, which would have tied with McIlroy for the playoff. And it would have been hilarious if he had won the FedEx Cup because he had not won a single tournament all year. He would have walked away with the entire $18 million with winning just the one tournament. And I think they would have maybe made some changes to their system after that. I don't know. But that would have been crazy. And then just like, I guess a side note, Cameron Smith going to the Live Tour. I mean, I don't know.
Y'all called it. You called it.
It's his decision.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he's doing it for his own reasons, but I cannot think of he's got his whole career ahead of him, and I just think it was a bad decision on his part. But hey, he probably just got $200 million for it, so good for him. He's playing the majors anyway because he just won the Open, so he doesn't have these concerns like some of the other guys do. But that tournament was really exciting. On Sunday.
Absolutely. And on Cam Smith, I mean, Mike did point that out when he won the PGA. He was like, it's kind of a muted celebration because he might end up going to Live, and it's like, well, there it is. Everybody called that one, so Mike, good job out of you on predicting that or suspecting or anticipating it. Yeah, John, that was a wild finish, no doubt. It's not how you want to finish a season, That's the way to do it, You see 6 strokes, you're like, forget it. And but then you look up and it's like, damn, that was juice. So let's go to Kevin. Let's get your final thoughts, and then we'll close it up tonight.
I was thinking what Andy just said before about how, the NFL, I mean, a little tougher to get into or whatever, but this has been just doing all this research and stuff and talking to you guys. College football is just so much fun. Like, there's more people, there's more teams, there's more bongos, there's more crazy, ridiculous coaches. Like, I was just, putting stuff together this week. Jim Harbaugh is talking about the Old Testament about his quarterback. Like, the Narduzzi is naming the West Virginia starter before they do. Like, Fisher and Saban are basically like, and it's like, who's got a big cock contest, like, all off season. Like, the NFL coaches are so buttoned up and they're kind of lame. This is way more fun. That I haven't seen the Lee Corso yet, but I'm really looking forward to seeing the fossil when that comes around. But yeah, it just, and oh my gosh, like 2 nights ago, I spent, I'm ashamed to admit it, but about at least an hour, if not more, looking at like Mike Leach YouTube videos. The guy is fast. It's just he's a total whack job, but I'm like, I can't believe he looks like a homeless guy walking to campus. I'm like, I can't believe I've spent an hour of my life watching this guy talk to him.
No, I believe
But anyway, yeah, it's great. It's just, it's kind of like, I don't know, some kind of crazy, Netflix show or something. It's just the characters, the coaches, the characters that these coaches are, and then all the, the rah-rah stuff and the tailgating stuff. My last thing, and you guys I'm sure already know that I've been queued up on here is you can't go to any sort of research on the SEC or like even the Big 12, any southern area. Everybody is just nonstop Jesus freaks, and it's a little weird. Like, I'm on Twitter now again, and like all the stuff. It's just quite a contrast to where I am, but where it's like, God deciding victories and touchdown Jesus and all that nonsense. I much rather believe in Andy, Ron, and John when it comes down to the end of the day. So glad to be with you boys. It's gonna be fun.
Likewise, Kev. It's great to have you back, my friend. All right, folks. Well, fellas, this has been a lot of fun. Take care, everybody. Good luck to all your action. It's gonna be a fun weekend. Take care, everybody. It's nice to see you again.
All right. Good luck.
Have a good night, you guys.
Take care, everyone.
Peace.
Peace out. Yeah, and hopefully, Andy, we'll catch up in IRL in just a few days. But everyone, take care of yourselves. Good times tonight. I mean, Andy, John, Ron, and Kevin all on the show at the same time. This has been a very, very fun time. Now, LT says don't underestimate the FCS level. We did get into that too. I think we saw some value earlier when we were doing our picks. So, all the way around a good time. Football's back, everybody. Let's do the thing. Good luck to everyone. We'll post the picks if you missed any of them on DITCOW.com, and if you don't. And otherwise, we'll also tweet out the picks too on our Twitter page at DITCOW. It's been a fun time. Hope you enjoyed every bit of it. I'm Dave Medina. We'll be back in a couple weeks with our week 3 show. Week 2 will be written only, so stay tuned on DITCOW.com for those picks. And then you'll see the results of week 1 as well in between. So good times all around. So thanks again. I appreciate you being here, everybody. You know, I'm expecting a really good contest. I think we're all going to do very well this year. Time will tell, but I love it. Just a phenomenal job by all tonight. Really great stuff. Don't forget, I'm also on Twitch. You can catch our non-sports show at Davey's Eating a Sandwich. We call it the Sandwich Show over there. And that's all from here. If you missed any part of the show, catch our replays at ditcow.com or look for us at DITCOW and find the replays there. I'm Dave. We'll see you next time. Have a good holiday.